Hi there. Welcome to this edition of Smart Tech. I'm Barije and your host. Today we decided to look at startups. As Uganda is on a journey to digital transformation and migration, a number of youth innovation, tech-based innovations have emerged. And despite the challenges they go through, they are visionary to make it happen. Let's review this. I'll be right back.
The youth population is well educated and growing to become a fast force to unlock industry prospects and the latest technology trends. For young populations in emerging markets such as Uganda, entrepreneurship and innovation are increasingly playing a transformational role in a burgeoning digital age. Today, we decided to take a look at startups. And to begin with, imagine a world where you can fundraise funds with ease. Maria Luzinda explains how this works, but above all, let's find out the inspiration of this innovation.
Looking at the economy we're in currently, we're seeing prices are rising up. A lot of people are in financial crisis. But putting that aside, going back to the COVID-19 pandemic, where it struck us more, it hit us more in 2020. We saw people losing their jobs, people were staying home, businesses were falling down, people were not working. So this is a time where people were in a financial crisis and they needed help. But that aside, even before COVID, we've been seeing people on streets, people begging for money. At campus, we see people coming to us asking for money, some of without documents from hospitals, and they need fundraising for them to raise a certain amount of money for them to be worked on in the hospital. So we were like, why don't we come up with something? So we came up with an initiative that could help people fundraise digitally, online, and reach more people, other than moving from one person to another. Yeah. So this whole idea started when we participated in some hackathon in 2021. It's called Women in FinTech Hackathon. It was organized by High People, and basically it was about financial inclusion. So we had to come up with ideas that involve financial inclusion. So that is when we also came up with this idea, and we thought it could be their best idea.
In brief, how does this work?
In need of some help, financial assistance, you start up a campaign. You briefly tell us, actually not briefly, you tell us what your need is. You give us, we have a procedure we follow. So you give us the need, you explain what you want, what your need is, what your problem is, how we can help you, plus giving us proof, because we shall be having a process of validation to avoid fraud cases. You know, such a platform, we expect a lot of people to come up with fraud cases, lying that they are hospitalized, if they're not, lying that they have cancer, they are bedridden, yet they are home eating fish and all that. So you have a procedure for validation. Yeah. So you start up a campaign, we validate, we the team validate, and then we put up the campaign on the platform, and then different donors can view the campaign. They go through the details of your problem, and those who are attached to a certain campaign can start donating to it. So that is how it works. So we provide transparency to both the donor and the person in need, so you can see the amount of money that has been submitted towards your campaign, and also the person who is donating knows how much is remaining. You know, we are avoiding cases whereby, we've seen people posting posters of, help so and so, they are in need, they put mobile money numbers. You don't know, you never know the amount of money that has been raised so far. So we are helping these donors know that this is the remaining percentage. So this is our platform, and in case you want to start up a campaign, this is where you go. There is the start button here. Takes you to this page. You select the category. Let me say I want my campaign is education based, and school fees for my child. My child has been sent away from school. Now here you give all the details that we need to know. My name is Maria, a mother to Kevin. My son has been sent home for school fees. And so on and so forth. You know, you give a description of your problem, all the details that you need to know. So he's setting the goal. I need 1 million for his tuition. Then you have to, you give us the chance to know whether you want, how long you want the campaign to run. Is it after you getting the goal or after a certain end date? So you select. Now this is for photos. You upload a photo. Now this link, assuming the photo is online, will give us the address of where the photo is. A video, we need a video. You upload the video there, you put in the link of the video, you select a district where you are, you put in the address that I'm in Kampala, Kawempe. Select the start date, month, June. And you select the end date. Then you submit campaign. So I'm not going to submit this since we are just testing. Yeah, so that is how you create a campaign. You start a campaign, you can support a campaign.
For a startup, we need to really understand that you are not going to be sleeping like any other CEO who has been there for a period of time and already making money. When you come up with a startup, we need to know that you're going to sleep less. You're going to have a lot of meetings here and there, trying to see how you can make improvements to move forward. So the energy that we put into building a startup is what actually helps us get to the market. So we need to have an extra drive. You need to have a soft drive that can put you in you need that soft drive that can put you where you want to be. How do you manage your team? You have a team of people who understand that they're building a startup and they appreciate the need to put in extra time to actually take the startup to another level. So I think that is really, really key. And we have understood all the other aspects that specific startup requires. People who are looking for, ways of, getting as partners. You understand you understand the product, and you're willing to move with the team to take this to another level. So I believe getting into commercialization has all those elements. We need to look at also things to do with financing. What are you spending your money on as a startup? So because at the end of the day, much as you're receiving funding from other partners who may be available, you also need to understand what you need to spend so that you can understand how you can maximize profits from this startup. So the element of spending, giving in an extra, putting in an extra effort to push the team and get you to another level. So if you're given an opportunity, if you had to sleep for 24, if you had to sleep for 24 hours, then you need to cut that and say, I need 12. But of course, I mean, someone who sleeps for 12 hours, I mean, that's an example. An average CEO may say, I want to sleep for 4 hours. If you can cut that, I mean, of course, but again, also considering your mental, you need to put into consideration things like mental health. You need enough time to rest, but also understand that there's that time that you're going to give in an extra effort to get to, you know, to break even. So if you do all those, then it will take you a short time to actually get there. Remember, you have considered all those other aspects of, you know, the partners, competition, understanding your competition. We have talked about, we have talked about the team, the market, understanding the market. Then it's going to be very easy for you to get to, you know, break even.
How does this work? Semakula Jonathan, still a student at Makerere University, has decided to invent a sign language interpreter device, something still on paper, but with the hope to launch soon. Let's review this.
I was working with some NGOs doing data collection, and in the field we found many people who are deaf and we couldn't interview them. I saw that they were having a challenge. Even in the whole district, we couldn't get someone who can interpret for us what their signs, and that was a big challenge. Then I came up with an idea of how best we can help these people, how we can help them communicate with others in the society. Even when you try to reach out to most of the schools, we realize that these schools don't cater for the deaf and the dumb, most of the schools. Yet these people they also need to acquire the same kind of education like any other person in Uganda. And that's where I came up with a project of robot bag for the deaf, coming up with a device which can be used instead of sign language interpreters. Because in Uganda we have 3% of our population are deaf, and if we add on the number of people who are dumb, it makes around 6%. Compared to the 14 schools we have across the country for the deaf, these schools cannot cater for the increasing population of the deaf. Then we came up with a device whereby I can speak, and this device will convert what I speak to sign languages. And it can as well convert what I speak to text, such that if I'm a deaf student, I'm in a classroom, I don't need an extra person to translate for me what they are teaching. This device can do the translation, meaning that I can acquire the same kind of education like others in the classroom. So that's how I came up with an idea of robot bag for the deaf, that you want to get the actions which are done by sign language interpreters, and we put them in a device, such that the device is just having a microphone. Whichever is being spoken by the tutor or the teacher, this device can recognize and then will convert that into sign language. So the major purpose of this project is to unlock education and employment opportunities for the deaf and dumb, because we know that in the normal way they need a sign language interpreter, and of course it is expensive to hire one, because you have to cater for the transport costs, and also we are looking at the privacy. And according to the statistics, less than 1% of these deaf are unemployed. And one of the reasons why they don't employ them is because of violation of privacy. Some companies need privacy, because if you need a sign language interpreter who is going to be seated there translating each and everything, meaning that this person can sell the information from the company. So we are looking at how we can convert the speech to text, how the system can convert the speech to sign language. And for the students, I use the bag, because a bag, we know that every student needs a bag, and the bag is flexible enough to be carried. So we need a system which is very portable with an inbuilt solar panel, whereby even without electricity, because you know that in some villages there is no access to electricity, the bag can be charged using the solar panel with a strong battery such that the system can be used even without direct current. So that is a simple model of how the bag will look like, with a solar panel aside, and then a screen which will be displaying the signs and then displaying the text.
Not yet officially launched, but Jonathan is a visionary and innovator out there with a mind of commercialization, an aspect for an innovator out there worth picking a leaf.
NGOs doing data collection, and in the field we found many people who are deaf and we couldn't interview them. I saw that they were having a challenge. Even in the whole district, we couldn't get someone who can interpret for us what their signs, and that was a big challenge. Then I came up with an idea of how best we can help these people, how we can help them communicate with others in the society. Even when you try to reach out to most of the schools, we realized that these schools don't cater for the deaf and the dumb, most of the schools. Yet these people they also need to acquire the same kind of education like any other person in Uganda. And that's where I came up with a project of robot bag for the deaf, coming up with a device which can be used instead of sign language interpreters. Because in Uganda we have 3% of our population are deaf, and if we add on the number of people who are dumb, it makes around 6%. Compared to the 14 schools we have across the country for the deaf, these schools cannot cater for the increasing population of the deaf. Then we came up with a device whereby I can speak, and this device will convert what I speak to sign languages.
When it comes to commercialization, for you to get to a place where you can make money and pay your bills and all that, there are several things that we need to consider in terms of running a startup. First of all, while you are coming up with this startup, did you understand the problem that you wanted to solve? Do you understand your customers? Do you understand every aspect of the business? So innovation is a process. You need to have covered every step that is involved when coming up with an innovation. So first of all, I would say when you're looking at coming up with an innovation, first of all, like I mentioned, there must be a problem. There must be what we call a pain. You can have a problem which is not a pain. So when you understand those, and you understand your target users of the innovation that you're looking at, then it becomes very easy for you to look at making money out of what you're doing. That is what we call human-centered design that we talk about. Now, human-centered design means you are building a product together with the users. You understand what your users need, or your customers, and then see how to go about. They will actually inform the process of what you are building. Let's say you have a tech, if you want to come up with a tech startup, you can actually start from a point where you go and understand. If I say we want to solve a problem in agriculture, get to the farmers and understand what is it that the farmers need. The people who consume agricultural products, what do they need? Then from there, from the biggest challenges, now when it comes to building that product, one thing you want to do, there's a selection from every challenge, all the challenges that you may have come across, or you have been told by your target group. You can actually come up and select what the biggest what the biggest problem is. There is what we call a problem selection matrix. And that helps you understand. Now, if you want to select what problem you want to solve, you may look at the importance and also the frequency of the problem. And that helps you to pick the most pressing challenge when it comes to, for your target users. When you have the most pressing challenge, that means your users or your customers are going to be willing to pay for that. Now, when you have a problem, then you can now begin looking at solutions. When you come up with solutions, what you want to pay attention to is you want to pay attention to, first of all, the uniqueness of this solution that you want to offer. And then the other aspect is the value. The moment you have that, the moment you have a unique solution and valuable to these customers, they're definitely willing to pay for it. So when you come up as a startup, now of course you want to begin understanding the market, and also that will inform things like the pricing and all that. You will be good to go. So for a period of time, you will start making money, and definitely along the way you will break even. But one thing that we also need to know is that while we are doing all this, we also need to do validation. From time to time, you'll get back to your end users or your customers to understand that if the solution that you're offering is actually what works for them. Of course, it will change from time to time. But if you understand those, then we need to begin understanding things around team. Do you have the right team to take that to the market? Do you understand your competitors? Those are some of the things we look at. Of course, we have already talked about the value proposition. It must be something that uniquely identifies you from, it differentiates you from what your competitors may be offering or what is in the market.
However, despite being recognized as the most entrepreneurial country in the world just a few years ago, a significant number of ventures in Uganda continue to die before they really get off the ground. This has been strongly attributed to a broken ecosystem characterized by closed systems and limited market access, whereby entrepreneurs and innovators' ideas are not tested and validated for commercialization. For instance, the lack of a Google office in Uganda to some extent has affected local innovations' accessibility to larger markets.
So when you look at innovations in Uganda in terms of technology, you cannot compare them to those that are based in say Kenya. So first of all, we have a huge number of startups coming up every day, but the biggest, the largest number, let me call it the majority, are in Nairobi. Why do we have Google coming to Nairobi? Because they see the potential. They see a lot of innovations coming up in that area compared to these other East African countries. So I want to give an example where we look at a startup that has been built, let's say, in health. It's not an easy thing for them to get to a point where they can actually test and begin having this work. We have had scenarios where startups actually run to Nairobi to test their products, then come and implement in Uganda because they have had a bit of challenges in Uganda, and that is what we, as government, we need to handle some of those. Let's look at the opportunities that come with companies like Google coming closer. Recently, we had one of the startups that wanted to acquire, let's say, He wanted to acquire a Google credit, but that he could not have the cloud credits allocated to him because he was not in Nairobi. This guy had to go to Nairobi to register his product, and also came to Uganda and did the same. This is something that is meant to be implemented in Uganda. Those are some of the challenges that we face. But if we try to look at innovations and also these technologies coming up, and we understand why we actually need them here, then it would help us, get to another level. Now, innovations in Uganda, if we have more of these innovations coming up, and every time we are knocking onto the right doors, then they'll wake up and know that, okay, we need to begin, we need to wake up and do something in order to support our innovators. But the limitations that we have definitely will help, will hinder our progress into getting to the market. Look at someone who wants to, incorporate. There's a bit of financing that they want to begin handling. If you are going to be collecting money in Uganda, if you're collecting people's money, then definitely you need approval from Bank of Uganda. But then there are startups that go in that direction, and they're taking forever. The process is really long. And imagine you have this startup, someone has to, make money, they're looking for other means of making ends meet. You have yourself to take care of, some of them have families to take care of, and then you are faced with that kind of long, should I call it bureaucracy? It takes you forever to get to the market. So those are some of the things that frustrate startups in Uganda.
Despite not having a Google office, local innovations are largely challenged by the limited access to the required funds, limiting research and development of the projects, limiting their viability in relation to the present societal challenges, and many other factors. We inquired from the tech leaders at the Makerere University College of Computing.
Concerning the startups, I would say basically we have a good start as a college. As students, we have a good start, but as you know, challenges never miss out. Yeah, because students, basically their minds are running day and day, out, in and out, but the problem we are facing is how to put these ideas into practice. We're really facing that problem, because in my office, something I've been facing is I have had so many students inbox me, they have their ideas, but they have failed to be helped out. And in my office also, I'm also just a student. Yeah, so we are having, first of all, the problem is the connection with administrators. That's one. Yes, they're helping out, but not that to a big extent. I think the other problem is the funding. The funding also, because someone may be having a good project, but in terms of funds, it may not really come out. But concerning the startups, I have a feeling students are really innovative, and I've experienced that, but the problem is putting them into practice, and most of them are dying out.
Students, we have ideas, but in most cases, like you said, we are affected by the finances, because as a student it's very difficult to have enough to maybe put your idea into action. But then, as me as a finance person, I would advise or think that we can work with companies, try to involve some companies to sponsor us. Like you come up with an idea, you sell it to the company, talk to their managers. You never know, they might end up sponsoring the activities. And also, we can still convince the college, convince our administrators. In most cases, we need to come up with ideas that are really selling, because if you came up with a fake idea, it would be very difficult for you to convince, for example, the principal or even the vice chancellor, convincing them to buy your idea, to put finances there, because they look at the end result. Is it going to benefit all the students, or is it something that is just going to end there? So once we come up with good ideas, good plans, and we talk to the administrators, I'm really sure they will support us, since the Makerere is a University of Innovations.
It's crucial for the ecosystem as a whole to take a community approach where different stakeholders, entrepreneurs, academia, the private sector and government deepen the application of technology to power socioeconomic prosperity, purpose to create a participatory environment by inviting these partners to join in a collective problem identification and thereby deliver feasible, impactful solutions to the local community and across different key industries. Local startups believe this is viable for their growth, accompanied with implementation of other related policies.
I could give those institutions, different institutions, that they should put emphasis in improving, developing, supporting these people with talents. There are a lot of people with these ideas. A lot of people have these ideas, but they lack funds. And also coming up with competitions, hackathons between institutions sounds a great deal. Imagine an hackathon between Chambogo and Makerere University. I think that would be a good deal. Imagine an hackathon between Makerere University and Chambogo University. I think that would be good to push more people to come up with these innovative ideas. I think there are people who have this skill of thinking, but they don't have the push. They're not pushed to think. They're just there. But with these activities promoted, I think people with a good amount to earn afterwards, with a good promise, funding and all that, people will come up with more ideas.
Given Uganda is the world's largest youngest population with over 78% aged below 35, there is a great opportunity to promote skills development, especially for the digital age. To support this, the government is set to invest heavily in the education system with a focus on science and technology.
Welcome back from that review, and that's what we had for you this week. Till next time, I'm Andrew Barije, and this is Smart Tech.